Employers add dozens of thousands of new jobs every month and would recruit many more if they could find them. People are spending, firms are investing, and wage growth is at its fastest in years. As a result, experts are predicting a probable recession. Stay with us until the very end of the video, because we have something amazing for you that will dramatically alter your view of success. High inflation, surging oil costs, and global uncertainty have caused economists to dramatically cut their projections of economic growth this year, while increasing the likelihood of a recession. Investors are concerned as well. The bond market flashed a warning signal this week, which has often, but not always, foretold a fall. Such forecasts may appear surprising when the economy is prospering by many metrics. The United States has reclaimed more than 90% of the jobs lost in the first few weeks of the epidemic, and firms are continuing to hire at a fast pace, creating 431,000 jobs in March alone. The unemployment rate has dropped to 3.6%, just above the pre-pandemic level, which was a half-century low. But, according to the doomsayers, the amazing resilience of the recovery contains the seeds of its own demise. Demand for automobiles, houses, restaurant meals, and the people who provide them has outpaced supply, resulting in the highest inflation in 40 years. The Federal Reserve's economists claim that they can chill the economy and bring inflation down without increasing unemployment and precipitating a recession. Many experts, however, are doubtful that the Fed can create such a soft landing, particularly at this time of heightened global uncertainty. It's like attempting to land during an earthquake, said Tara Sinclair, an economics professor at George Washington University. Former Federal Reserve Bank of New York President William Dudley predicted a recession almost unavoidable. He is one of the economists who believe that if the Fed had started raising interest rates last year, it would have been able to control inflation just by putting the brakes on the economy. Now, they argue, the economy is growing so swiftly, and prices are increasing so quickly, that the Fed's only chance to gain control is to slam on the brakes and induce a recession. Nonetheless, the majority of forecasts believe a recession is unlikely in the coming year. High oil costs, increasing interest rates, and dwindling government subsidies will all weigh on GDP this year, according to Annetta Markowska, chief economist at Jefferies. However, corporate earnings are solid, consumers have trillions of dollars in savings, and debt loads are low, all of which should offer a buffer against any downturn. It's easy to generate a really dismal story, she said, but when you look at the size of all those consequences, I don't think they're large enough to send us into a recession in the next year. Recessions usually always bring job losses and unemployment. Right now, businesses are doing everything they can to keep employees. I just don't understand what would induce firms to go from, we need to employ all these people and we can't find them, to, we have to lay people off, Ms. Markowska said. Economists, on the other hand, are famously bad at forecasting recessions. So it makes sense to concentrate on where the recovery is right now and the forces that are trying to derail it. Growth will slow. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Last year was the strongest year for economic growth since the mid-1980s, as well as the best year on record for employment growth. Such dramatic improvements, made possible by vaccinations and backed by trillions of dollars in government help, were unlikely to be duplicated this year. In fact, a slowdown is likely desired. The quick comeback in consumer spending, particularly on automobiles, furnishings, and other items, has strained supply chains, driving up costs. Despite growing pay, there is such a high demand for labor that jobs are remaining unfilled. The Fed's chairman, Jerome H. Powell, recently stated that the job market had become tight to an unhealthy degree. Some economists, particularly those on the left, argued that the heated labor market was beneficial to workers. However, the majority of them agreed that the current rate of employment growth was unsustainable for the foreseeable future. We've ripped back toward normal at a fairly quick speed, and it would be ridiculous to believe that could continue, said Josh Bivens, research director at the Economic Policy Institute, a progressive think tank. Slower wage growth, he added, would not concern him as long as pay increases did not lag behind inflation. However, several economists warned against hoping for a slowdown at a time when low-wage employees were receiving significant salary rises and vulnerable populations were seeing lower unemployment. The black unemployment rate dipped to 6.2% in March, but it was still roughly double that of white Americans. A lot could go wrong. For much of last year, Fed policymakers agreed with Mr. Sojourner, perceiving inflation as a product of pandemic-related disruptions that would soon pass. When those disruptions proved to be more chronic than anticipated, authorities shifted course, but it was too late to prevent inflation from escalating beyond what they wanted. We hope this video was helpful. But before we leave you, if you ever need a hand or have any contribution to make or a question to ask, please do feel free to leave them below. We will be more than glad to help you out. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so that you can receive more content like this every week.